Hi, I'm Rob LaRue, and this is my book review for my Authentic Christianity course at Southwestern Assemblies of God University. The book that I have chosen is Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. I was really excited to have the opportunity to read this. Small confession, I have been aware of this book for quite some time, and yet for some reason I couldn't convince myself to take the time to actually read it. I had a friend who built it up to me maybe 15 years ago and told me that it was one of the best books that he's ever read and that it completely changed his life. So what I want to do is I want to take this time to talk about a couple of points, a couple of things that really stuck out to me within the book that I found incredibly interesting, and I want to give my overall opinion of the book. Now, this is a disclaimer. If I don't happen to agree with your opinion on this book, it doesn't mean that I think C.S. Lewis is a bad author. I happen to think he's a very good author. I love the Chronicles of Narnia, and I'm currently reading those to my sons and hoping that they catch my enthusiasm for those books. So my first point, the first thing that I really gravitated toward is actually one of the points early on in the book. Well, first of all, the book is divided into 4 different books based on some talks that C.S. Lewis did over the radio. But within book 1, it takes a lot of time addressing a point that Lewis refers to as the law of human nature. And what that basically is, to summarize that, is that Lewis suggests that we as humans have some underlying, understood code of ethics within all of us, whether we are a religious person or whether we are not a religious person. We can be an atheist, we can be a Christian, we can be some form in between, but we in modern society have this general moral code, this code of ethics that we all have supposedly agreed to follow. And he relates it to this idea, this concept of fairness, kind of like as a kid on the playground who believes that they've had some injustice done to him. Well, they had a turn, and when's my turn? And, but that's not fair. And maybe that's just the way that I took it, having a 5-year-old at home and trying to teach him the concept of fairness. But that's what really struck me. And the idea, as a sports fan, the idea of there would be no point in calling a foul in a game of soccer, or as he said it, football match, or a footballer calling a foul when there aren't any agreed upon rules. Well, whether we consider ourselves believers or not, whether we subscribe to the concept of Christianity or some other religion, or even the idea of being atheistic or agnostic, we all within us understand that there is some sort of morality that judges us. And I really love how C.S. Lewis takes the time to explain this from a truly methodical and intellectual standpoint. Lewis himself was a believer, and he makes no bones about that. He comes out and he says that, but he didn't just let the fact that he is a believer cloud his judgment and say, well, it has to be this way because I'm a believer. No, he took the time to prove through very, very in-depth analysis that we all operate on this basis of a general understanding of what is appropriate to interact with each other. The second thing that I found so interesting within Mere Christianity was the idea of the great sin, and that C.S. Lewis postulates that pride is the great sin. It's the one sin that really is the bare bones and the root of most all things out there. Even says that the devil wouldn't be the devil without pride, and he's got a pretty solid point there. But he speaks about pride being essentially competitive, that it by its very nature, pride is a competitive thing, and that as long as you are proud, he says that you cannot know God. Now, I don't know if I go as far as Lewis in that belief that somebody who is proud doesn't know God. He says even in one place that they're worshiping an imaginary version of God, and that the real test of being in the presence of God is to essentially forget about yourself altogether in his presence. Now, I would agree with that. Scripture supports that. I must decrease and he must increase. However, I wouldn't go as far as to agree with Lewis on the concept of if you struggle with pride, then you don't know God at all, or you're worshiping some sort of God. I believe you have an area that you need to work on between you and God. However, Lewis makes a very strong argument for pride being so critically damaging to the lives of many people, including Christian believers. Finally, I'd like to give my opinion on Mere Christianity. So having mentioned what I said earlier, that this book was suggested to me so long ago and built up, I kind of feel like it's when somebody tells you, oh, it's the greatest movie of all time. Oh, you'll love it. It's so incredible. And then you go and you watch it, and it just doesn't quite live up to that kind of hype. I loved the book. I thought it was great. I thought Lewis did a fantastic job. Again, I am a huge C.S. Lewis fan. However, with Mere Christianity, I did not particularly enjoy it as much as I thought it would. Maybe it was simply because it had been built up to me so greatly. However, I do recommend it. We should all get our hands on a copy of Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, because as he postulates in the book, as he states in the book, is that he's offering a defense for the idea of Christianity, for mere Christianity itself. And I think that is something worth studying in our lives. So thank you for your time.